Okay, so let's unpack this. We're doing a deep dive into the 2025 season of a player who isn't just winning championships anymore. She is fundamentally redefining what singular dominance looks like.
Yeah, I mean, the source material we have lays out a year. That's just, it's historic.
It's truly something else.
Yeah.
She cemented herself not just as a champion, again, but as a statistical anomaly and, a master of resilience under incredible pressure.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is really to pull out the key insights from her most recent achievements. We're talking about the season where she locked down an unprecedented 4th WNBA MVP award.
Which is a record.
A huge record. And significantly, she also took home her first Associated Press Female Athlete of the Year award. So this isn't just about the stats. We need to understand not just what she did, but how she managed to elevate her game while her team was, frankly, struggling.
And that's the core of it. What's truly fascinating here is the magnitude of the legacy shift. You mentioned the 4th MVP. I mean, that immediately breaks the all-time WNBA record. It lifts her past legends like Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, Lauren Jackson. They were all tied at 3. This season wasn't just about collecting trophies. It was about setting a new, seemingly untouchable benchmark.
And her dominance this year had to blend that individual brilliance with just foundational leadership. It wasn't a smooth ride like her other championship runs.
Not at all.
But let's start outside the league for a second with that big AP award, because that's what really signaled her crossover from just an elite basketball player to a global cultural icon. In December 2025, A'ja Wilson wins the Associated Press Female Athlete of the Year.
And it wasn't even close. The articles we have show she received 17 votes from 47 of the top sports journalists.
Wow.
Yeah, that gave her a really clear margin over other superstars. Like tennis champion Aryna Sabalenka had 9 votes and college star Paige Bueckers had 5. This wasn't a WNBA vote. This was a statement on the global stage.
And when you look at the history of that award, I mean, it goes all the way back to 1931. The list of basketball players who have won it is almost ridiculously small.
It's tiny. She's only the 5th basketball player ever to get this honor. And the list she joins, it's like a Mount Rushmore of the sport.
Who are we talking about?
Cheryl Swoops in 93, Rebecca Lobo in 95, Candace Parker did it twice.
Oh, right, in 2008 and 2021?
Exactly. And then Caitlin Clark in 2024. It just puts her achievements in a whole different historical context.
And all that external recognition, it ties directly back to what she did in the league. That 4th MVP, leading the Aces to a 3rd championship in 4 years. The sheer consistency is staggering. But the sources keep coming back to her character.
And that's where this gets really deep. Her coach, Becky Hammon, had probably the most striking quote in all her source material.
I love this one. Hammon said, "She's on Everest. There's nobody up there with her." When a coach that successful says something like that, you have to dig into the why. What makes her dominance so unique?
Well, the why is that fusion of skill and temperament. Hammon wasn't just praising the fact that she's on top of the mountain. She praised Wilson's relatability, her being down to earth.
She even called her the easiest player to coach.
Exactly. And if you connect that to leading a dynasty, that blend of humility and world-leading skill is the perfect foundation. The team doesn't follow her out of fear. They follow her because she's this authentic, approachable, great person.
And the skill part, I mean, that speaks for itself. In 2025, she led the league with 23.4 points per game and 2.3 blocks.
Which is right on par with her unanimous MVP season the year before.
So she maintained that statistical perfection while navigating all this team turmoil.
And this raises a really important question for you, the listener. How does an athlete who is demonstrably better than everyone else also manage to be the most low maintenance? It's this cocktail of grace and dominance that our sources point to as the wellspring of her success. She just channels pressure differently.
So if Hammond says she's on Everest, what the sources reveal is that she had to climb through a near-death experience to get there. This is where the narrative of the season gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike their last 2 titles, the Aces did not cruise. Not even close. This season had a major plot twist.
It was a shocking mid-season crisis. I mean, with about a month left in the regular season, the reigning champs were sitting at a .500 record.
500. They were genuinely in danger of missing the playoffs.
And it all came to a head with that record 53-point loss against the Minnesota Lynx. To put that in perspective for you, that's not just a bad game. That's a historic, soul-crushing defeat that usually signals a complete team breakdown.
And right away, the external chatter starts up. The whole narrative shifts. It goes from Wilson is the best player in the world to
Is the dynasty crumbling? Or Is she even the MVP frontrunner anymore?
Yeah, exactly. But that adversity became her defining moment. She didn't ignore the noise, she used it.
She did. She explicitly told reporters that the doubt, the criticism, the mud they were in, as she called it, that became her fuel.
And then she rallies the team to win the final 16 regular season games straight.
16 straight, to lock up the number 2 seed. It's unbelievable. She said, "This season I found myself through the adversity and mud we went through." I mean, that is leadership gold.
That's why this MVP is so different from the others. It wasn't just about putting up stats on a great team. It was about leading a complete 180-degree culture shift under immense pressure.
And you saw the payoff in the playoffs. She didn't just maintain her level, she raised it. She was crucial in helping the Aces survive those winner-take-all games in the quarters and semis.
And then in the finals against Phoenix, she hits the winning shot in Game 3 to seal the sweep.
Perfect ending.
ESPN analyst Rebecca Lobo captured it perfectly. She pointed out that even though she wasn't the unanimous MVP this year, the journey she had this season was different. She said Ajama was playing the best basketball of her entire career in those playoffs.
And that reinforces the whole point. The context of that journey, of battling through that crisis, that's what defined her 2025 MVP campaign, maybe even more than the raw numbers.
She proved she could dominate when everything was easy, and more importantly, when everything was falling apart.
So the story of 2025 is really a story of context and resilience. But, once they actually got to the top of Everest, the list of her records is just staggering.
Let's talk about the unprecedented one, the one that spans all of professional basketball history. She became the first player ever
in either the WNBA or the NBA
to achieve what we could probably call the quadruple crown in a single season.
And we really need to slow down and unpack this because it is genuinely historic. So 4 major honors in 1 year. She won the MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year, the Finals MVP, and she led the league in scoring.
Wait, hold on. So not even Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Shaq ever pulled off that specific combination in the NBA?
They did not. Jordan won all 4 over his career, of course, but never all at the same time in the same season.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It is. This combination proves absolute simultaneous dominance on every possible front. You've got individual scoring, defensive impact, league-wide recognition, and championship MVP. It is an unheard of sweep. It really does put her in a category that is Everest.
So she broke the all-time MVP record, but her influence now is extending so far beyond the court. The sources show her impact as a cultural icon and a marketable superstar is peaking right alongside her performance.
Absolutely. The marketability is explosive. She launched a signature shoe and clothing line with Nike.
Which sold out in minutes, right?
Reportedly, yeah, within minutes of going on sale. Wilson. And that's not just a shoe. It's tangible proof that the league's cultural capital has reached a point where its stars have that kind of massive, bankable appeal.
And of course, the fun one.
Yeah.
She crossed off a major bucket list item, meeting her idol, Beyoncé, at a Formula One race in Vegas.
And you've reached a new level of stardom when you're meeting Beyoncé, not just as a fan, but as a respected peer in that cultural landscape.
For sure. So what's next for her?
Here
the sources say she's planning a relaxing offseason, which she deserves.
She definitely does. She's prioritizing rest by avoiding playing overseas or in the domestic 3-on-3 league, unrivaled. But the really important thing now is her financial status.
Right. Which brings us to the business side of all this. She became a free agent at the end of the 2025 season.
Mm-hmm.
And while everyone expects her to return to the Aces and keep building that dynasty, she is positioned for a historic contract.
That's the key. She's in line for a significant, potentially record-setting raise. And this is all happening just as the WNBA and the Players Union are negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement, the CBA.
So her contract isn't just about her. It's about setting the new financial ceiling for the entire league under these new rules.
It's a benchmark deal.
Okay, so what does all this mean for you?
Oh.
We've looked at the numbers, we've looked at the narrative of a championship won through pure resilience, and we've seen the singular character that defines a truly generational athlete, one who can use all that external noise as motivation to climb her own personal Everest.
And the practical relevance of this season is crystal clear. She's the most decorated active player. She has this unprecedented statistical haul, and her marketability is proven. That sold-out Nike line is the ultimate evidence.
So, considering all of that leverage, here's the final thought for you to mull over. How does A'Leisha Wilson's expected contract negotiation not only affect her own future, but also raise the financial ceiling and the negotiating power for every single player in the WNBA? Is she the player whose
Touches
dynamic
here in the
dynasty
third
finally
quarter,
forces a
and that
paradigm
little
shift in how
fade,
the
not
league
much.
values
The
its
defense
absolute
can
best talent?